the idea of what does it mean for us to doubt. And it's a good place for us to start. Doubt. I kind of wonder if you've ever had doubt. I know that in my faith journey, doubt has been a big part of my faith. And for a while, I felt really guilty about the fact that I had some doubts about my faith. I was just talking with a friend of mine who is considering whether or not they're called into ministry. And they said, there are some times that I really feel called, and there's a lot of times that I don't. I said, that's okay. That is part of the human experience. As we question, as we're not sure what's going on. And this story with Thomas that we hear, where the disciples have all had the opportunity to have first-hand experience with Jesus, showing them his hands. And I can just imagine the scene, this sort of kitchen space where Jesus is there with his friends, and they're looking at his hands, and they're, wow, that's cool. You died, and there's the nail mark, and they're looking at his side, and he's checking that out. And then they tell their friend Thomas, and Thomas is like, no, that can't be true. How in the world is that possible that Jesus is alive? I saw, he was dead. That's not possible. Doubt is a normal part of our faith experience. And honest doubt helps us to grow in our faith. Thomas, in that way, is one of my favorite characters of Scripture, because he honestly has doubt. He's not saying, well, I'm never going to believe, or he's using these questions of whether or not the doubt is there to say that, I'll never believe in Jesus. He's just saying, I really need to see it myself. I need to have my first-hand experience of Jesus in order to understand, to get a glimpse of what's true about the situation. Sometimes I think, though, in our Christian faith, we hear scriptures, for instance, from James, it says, those who pray should not doubt, for they are like a ship that is tossed on the foams of the water, from one high to another low, and you should not doubt, but have faith. And I'm like, I shouldn't have any doubt. I should believe, and we beat ourselves up for having any sense of doubt. As the way I've kind of understood this experience of doubt is that our human mind has to find a way to grapple with infinite truth. Now, I don't know how smart you feel that you are, but I know that my intellect is not possibly able to grab hold of infinite truth for certain. It's sort of like we're experiencing an unknown reality of spiritual truth that our intellectual, physical mind has only the ability to tangibly touch the edge of what that's about. And so we start to figure out, it sort of feels like this. It's kind of like somebody who's unable to see, trying to get an understanding of an object by putting their hands on it and getting a sense of what it is. Our physical mind trying to grapple with the spiritual truths for ultimate reality, it's a bit like we're missing that deeper sense of what that is. And so we're experiencing some unknowns as we experience that process towards what understanding can be. And Thomas says to the disciples, I need to see it myself. I need to have my hands put into where his hands are, where the wounds were in his side, and then I'll be able to understand it. Well, what kind of questions do we have? How do I know that God exists? How do I know that Jesus was real? How do I know that the resurrection actually happened? What about these miracles? Are they just good stories that we tell each other to encourage each other to believe in something that we can't actually prove? Or is there some piece of this that's real? Is there some piece of this that I can actually grab hold of? Doubt has to be the beginning place for us to talk about how we share our faith with others. And that's the series that we're going to be starting, is how do we share our experience? How do we share our faith? Because doubt, if we have doubt, we have to believe that the world also has doubt. Begins with intellectual curiosity about what is real, what is the meaning of the universe, is there truly a God? And if we allow ourselves to be honest, we've all had these questions. Nobody continues in their faith journey without having to wrestle deeply with whether or not these questions are real. God's there to help us understand. I think one of the amazing things we have about God is that God is bigger than our questions. We can honestly trust God in our questions. No question we can ask of God or of faith has not already been posed in some fashion or another in the last 2,000 years. And as we pose those questions, we know that there's storehouses of research that have explored exactly that question. Just last Sunday, as we talked about the resurrection, and I shared with you some proofs about how we might know about the resurrection, I've already, this last week, pointed out 3 major volumes that I could read if I was interested, several thousands of pages, that explore the truth of the resurrection, whether or not there's proof for the bodily resurrection of Jesus. We bring our questions because the questions that we have in our doubt produce faith.